going to do book reading. Etruscan Roman remains in popular tradition. So you have a list of illustrations, Mercury, Jupiter, so on and so forth. Headpiece. Introduction. Here's in northern Italy, a mountain district known as La Longa Toscana, the inhabitants of which speak a rude form of the Bolognese dialect. These Romanali are manifestly a very ancient race and appear to have preserved traditions and observances, little changed from an incredibly early time. It's been a question of late years whether the Bolognese are of Etruscan origin, and it seems to have been generally decided that they are not. With this, I have nothing whatever to do. They were probably there before the Etruscans. But the latter at one time held all Italy, and it is very likely that they left in remote districts those traces of their culture to which this book referred. The name Romana is applied to their district because it once formed part of the papal or Roman dominion, and is not to be confounded with La Romana proper. Roughly speaking, the region to which I refer may be described as lying between Forli and Ravenna. Among these people, it sounds nice, Cervesia or witchcraft, or as I have heard it called, La Vecchia Religio, or the old religion. La Vecchia Religio, the old religion, exists to a degree which would even astonish many Italians. So they had witches in Italy too, in Rome. You know, they wonder why Hitler burned it all down. Nero burned it all down. This Strategeria, or old religion, is something more than a sorcery, something less than a faith. It consists and remains a mythology of spirits, the principle of whom preserve the names and attributes of the old. So these witches use spirits, apparently. Principle of whom preserve the names and attributes of the old Etruscan gods, such as Tuia or Jupiter, or Bacchus, the god of drunkenness, in other words, or the spirit of drunkenness. So you have these witches, and they're calling forth Bacchus to, make you drunk or whatever. And Tyranno, and those Etruscan Turus, or Mercury. With these where still exist a few memories, the most ancient Roman rural deities such as Sylvanus, Paulus. Now these are Hebrews, that's Paul and Sylvanus. Hebrew. What they did is they made them rural Roman deities. They scrambled their names. Sylvanus was with a Y in Hebrew, and Paulus, of course, was Paul. And they put Pan and the fawns in there so they make it real cool. The deer, That's why you have all the deer crest on the Romans and the Catholics, the deer horns. Anyway, to all of these invocations or prayers in rude metrical form are still addressed, or are at least preserved, and there are many stories current regarding them. All of these names with their attributes, and they still have that to this day. You see the deer, the bars and stuff, the mounts. It's a form of witchcraft, I guess. Probably. I don't care. I don't really go to bars. All of these names with their attributes, descriptions of spirits or gods, invocations, and legends will be found in this work. So if you're ever interested, you have a bar at home, don't put deer in there, I don't know. Some incandescent chandelier lights or something. Closely allied to the belief in these old deities is a vast mass of curious traditions, such as that there is a spirit of every element or thing created, as for instance, of every plant and mineral. So they kind of deformed them. And a guardian or leading spirit of all animals, as in the case of silkworms. So you have, the worms in your bar or whatever, and it's all good. It's not. 2, one good and one evil. I get it. So, they say, oh, I'm not going to die or whatever. It's one good worm and one evil worm. Those worms are just worms. Also, that sorcerers and witches are sometimes born again and their descendants. Forests, rocks, ruined towers, firesides, and kitchens or cellars where they alternately madden or delight the maids. In short, all of that quaint company are familiar spirits. They call them familiar spirits because they're drunk and they do bad stuff, sexual things, which are boldly claimed as being of northern birth by German archaeologists. So that's interesting. That's why, good people are interested in dwarves, in a good way, because they're like the original quote-unquote witch killers. And they're German and everything. So if you really want to, protect yourself and you're drinking or whatever, get some dwarf pictures, Get into dwarves, I mean, don't get into deer, goblins, and, forests and ruined towers and fires and kitchens and stuff like that. That'll send you straight to the drunk tank. In short, all of that quaint company, which are blah blah blah, which are boldly claimed as being Merlin, which I'm not aware of that. Investigation indicates to have been thoroughly at home in Italy, while Rome was yet young, or maybe unbuilt. So that's, this is where all the witches came from. This was why people, were so weary of the Catholics, because, it's the Roman, where everybody would drink heavily. They drank a lot. I mean, the Romans drank a lot. So, anyway, whether this lore to be Teutonic or Italian, or due to a common Aryan or Asian origin, which it wasn't, or whether as the new school teethes, it growed of itself like topsy. That's why the Asian people don't really drink that much. They have the sake or whatever, and they don't tell people that they drink it, because that's their thing. That's their alternate form of alcohol production they made, so they didn't have to appear like all the other rest of the people drinking beer and wine and, hard alcohol or whatever else. Or whether it's the new school teas that growed of itself like topsy, spontaneously and sporadically everywhere. I will not pretend to determine, suffice to say that I shall be satisfied should my collection prove to be of any value to those who take it on themselves to settle a higher question. Connected in turn with these beliefs in Folletti, minor spirits, which are actually extremely dangerous because, they used to connect it to Ireland, but it wasn't Ireland. It was Rome. Look, forests, rocks, ruined towers. They hide, the little imps and things hide in the bushes and in the, piles of old brush or whatever. It actually came from Rome, not Ireland. They'll confuse it for you. Minor spirits and their attendant observances and traditions. It goes with fairies and all that stuff too. Attendant observances and traditions are vast numbers of magical cures with appropriate incantation spells and ceremonies to lodge or remove all evil influences or bring certain things to pass. They used to have Merlin and stuff in Ireland, which were good witches and spells, or wizards, more wizards. Weren't so many witches in Ireland. They didn't really those are more just girls, but it was wizards and spells and ceremonies, track love and all that Irish stuff because they didn't have anything else. Their crops got ruined. They didn't have anything to do except for make little weird spells and scrolls and stuff. To remove all evil influences or bring certain things to pass, to win in gaming, to evoke spirits, to ensure good crops. So there you go. Our traveler's happy return. And to effect divination or deviltry in many curious ways, all being ancient. Of course, deviltry is a whole other topic. All being ancient as shown by allusions in classical writers, to whom these spells were known. And I believe that in some cases what I have gathered and given will possibly be found to supply much that is missing in earlier authors, said Verbo Venia. Many peasants, and of course I have Irish blood, so I know about these things. I've experienced them in my life. They're really weird, really perverse. Many peasants in the Romagna Toscana are familiar with scores of these spells, but the skilled repetition and execution of them, totally evil, is in the hands of certain cryptic witches. There you go. If you obscure wizards, of course they'd be obscure, You wouldn't find them, right? Who belong to mystic families in which the occult art is preserved from generation to generation under jealous fear of priests, cultured people, and all powers that be. And I've seen wizard guys, they're pretty perverted, creepy looking. Anyway, under jealous fear of priests, cultured people, and all powers that be, just as gypsies and tramps deeply distrust everything. Of course, the gypsies are, Scott, Welsh type people. At best, they live in trailer parks or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, cultured people. Actually, though, some of the gypsy clothing is actually kind of interesting because they do have to make their own clothes. And, when your clothes get tattered, they say you look like a gypsy. You need to get new clothes. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's okay. Yeah, it's more fake money, I guess. Anyway, which the occult art is preserved from generation to generation under jealous fear of priests, cultured people, and all powers that be, just as gypsies and tramps deeply distrust everything that is not on the road, or all folk. And I met a gypsy girl. I was nice to her. All honest folk, so it is to exaggeration to declare that travelers have no confidence or faith in the truth of any man until they have caught him telling a few lies, as indeed befell me myself once in Bath, where I was taking out, I'll read it, where it was declared in a large gypsy encampment that I must be either Romany or of Romany blood, because I was the biggest liar that ever met. A lie in this case having been an arrogant and boastful yet true assertion on my part that, though penniless at the moment to stand treat, I had at home 24 gold sovereigns, 18 shillings in silver, and 2 pence in bronze. And I don't believe, added the gypsy, of course nobody does because they're after your money, that he had a DD 6 pence bronze, and I don't believe, added the gypsy. To his name, but he's alright. So these travelers on the darkened road of sorcery soon recognized in the holder the black stone of the voodoo. I don't know much about voodoo, really. The pupil sorcery soon recognized in the holder of the black stone of the voodoo the pupil of the red Indian Magdalene and the gypsy bride, and one who had moreover his pocket always full of fetishes and little red bags. A man who was worthy of confidence, none less So, since he was not ungenerous of pounds of coffee, small bottles of rum, cigars, and other minor requisites which greatly promote conviviality, mutual understanding, and wisdom. Among these priestesses of the hidden spell, an elder name has generally in hand some younger girl whom she instructs, firstly in the art of bewitching or injuring enemies, and secondly in the more important process of annulling or unbinding the spells of others, or causing mutual love and conferring luck. And here I may observe that many of the items given in this book are so jealously guarded as secrets that I was assured, unless one was in the confidence of those who possess such lore, he might seek it in vain. I'll see who the author is later. Also that a great portion has become so nearly extinct that it is now in something, while other details are, however, still generally known. But this is not going to be, of course, a modern author, when you can tell. An interesting and very curious portion of my book consists of a number of occult remedies still preserved from it. Alright, we're going to end it there. Just doing a short reading. It's Google Books, it's a free book. Google Play Books. But what I want to do is drop to the author. Now, here's the cover. Sort of. There's a little emblem on it. Well, there's the cover, I guess. Etruscan remains. Popular tradition. By Charles Godfrey Leland, president of the Gypsy Lore Society. Oh, that's interesting. London. T. Fisher on one part of square or something. Hey, let's count how many beads she has up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She has 10 beads. By the way, if you were interested, that's the number for girls or whatever, sexual wellness. Of course they corrupted it when they made the record. My 10-inch or whatever record label. So they just, blew this frontispiece and all their nice, knowledge and archaeology stuff art they had done. Anyway, September 24th, 1893. So this is pre-1900. Anyway, there you go. There's your book. Anyway, it's cool.